Ms. Blanchard, did you want to say something, ma'am? Okay. I'm sorry.
You taking a break or?
No.
Okay.
I'm getting ready to get started.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Number 2, turn my mic on. Number 2, ordinance calendar number 6186, ordinance amending the official planning zoning map to reclassify 1.12 acres from HC2 to A-4A, Ward 8, District 13.
I make a motion to pass. I want to thank these developers that are being smart developers and doing the right thing on this tract of land. So thank you.
Second.
Second by Mr. Balisaro. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Thank you. Number 3, ordinance calendar number 6218, ordinance amending the official planning parish zoning map to reclassify 1 acre from A-2 to HC-2, Ward 5, District 6. Mr. Thompson. Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Dean. Please vote.
I heard that.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Number 4, ordinance calendar number 6223, ordinance to extend for 6 months the moratorium on property having access to and/or fronting on Brewster Road. Mr. Dean.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dean, second by Mr. Fitzgerald. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Number 5, ordinance calendar number 6224, ordinance to extend for 6 months the moratorium on property within a defined area within St. Tammany Parish, Council District 14. Mr. Smith.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Bender. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Number 6, ordinance calendar number 6225, ordinance to enter into Tammany trades regarding development of the Bellevue Estate subdivision located in Ward 4, District 7. Mr. Groby.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Groby, second by Mr. Balisaro. Please vote.
Mr. Smith? Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Number 7, ordinance calendar number 6226, ordinance to revoke positions of Edna Street and North 7th Street, Ward 3, District 2. Mr. Fitzgerald.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Thompson. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Ordinance calendar number 6227, ordinance to revoke an unopened portion of 8th Street, Ward 3, District 2. Mr. Fitzgerald.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Dean. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Number 9, ordinance calendar 6228, ordinance to authorize the transfer of certain parcels of Highway 41 Spur Bridge to Town of Pearl River, Ward 8, District 6 and 9. Mr. Tanner and Mr. Balisaro. Mr. Balisaro.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Thompson. Please vote.
Mr. Toledano?
Thank you.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Number 10, ordinance calendar 6229, ordinance amending the Parish Code, Chapter 130, to add new permits use crematoriums.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Balisaro, second by Mr. Stefanczyk. Please vote.
Mr. Fitzgerald, I'm sorry, I pushed the button too quickly.
Yes.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Number 11, ordinance calendar number 6230, ordinance accepting final subdivision into road and drainage inventories, Ward 8, District 9. Mr. Balisaro.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Balisaro, second by Mr. Toledano. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Number 12, ordinance calendar number 6231, ordinance accepting the finalized subdivision into the roads and drainage inventory, Ward 4, District 5. Mr. Toledano. Motion by Mr. Toledano, second by Mr. Thompson. Please vote.
Mr. Bender?
Yes.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Number 13, ordinance calendar number 6232, ordinance accepting final subdivision into roads and drainage inventories, Ward 3, District 5. Mr. Toledano.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Toledano, second by Mr. Balisaro. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
14, ordinance calendar number 6233, ordinance accepting the final subdivision into the roads and drainage inventory, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Dean.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Dean, second by Mr. Toledano. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Your hand was bothering me.
Number 15, ordinance calendar number 6234, ordinance accepting the final subdivision into roads and drainage inventories, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Dean.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dean, second by Mr. Fitzgerald. Please vote. Now I know why you're here, Morty. You got a lot of deals on this thing tonight.
I'm carrying this parish. You know that?
On your back.
Mr. Dean, Mr. Fitzgerald? Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Number 16, ordinance calendar number 6235, ordinance accepting final subdivision into the roads and drainage inventories, Ward 1, District 1. Mr. Dean.
Yes, sir, again. So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dean, second by Mr. Thompson. Please vote. Is there any way we could do all of those at one time for Dean?
I think he's overbuilding it.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Number 17, ordinance calendar 6236, ordinance to correct the road and drainage inventory, Ward 4, District 4.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Balisaro, second by Mr. Toledano. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Number 18, ordinance calendar number 6237, ordinance to amend the 2019 operating budget amendment number 10.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Balisaro, second by Mr. Toledano. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 6238, ordinance to amend the parish code to create a new section.
Yeah, that's it. Sentence cut off.
Is that it?
No, it's in the, underneath, enforcement and compensation.
Nuisance.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay. Well, I better read it, though. Ordinance to amend the parish code, ordinance chapter 26, nuisance article 1, general to create section 26-12, enforcement and compensation. Motion by Mr. Balisaro, second by Mr. Canulet. Please vote.
I heard we ain't got no money for that.
You heard that tonight?
Yeah, I heard that tonight. We ain't got no money for that.
Oh, we'll have to
Ms.
find some,
Blanchard,
bro.
Mr. Smith? Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Number 20, the calendar number 6239, ordinance establishing a no-through truck zone on Hudson Street, Ward 8, District 12. Mr. Bender.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bender, second by Mr. Stefanski. Please vote.
Mr. Bender? Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Number 21, ordinance calendar number 6240, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 2.5 acres from A-2 to A-2 and MHO, Ward 8, District 9.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Balisaro, second by Mr. Canulette. Please vote. Motion by Mr. Balisaro, second by Mr. Toledano to adjourn.
Well, you got to finish the vote first.
Oh, you didn't finish that one?
Real question. You're already adjourned. Serious question.
Mr. Lorino,
I
please
didn't
vote.
vote? I got it. I'm in a hurry, man.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Thank you.
But it's a serious question.
Yes, sir.
And I couldn't push the gun quick enough. Do we
Turn your mic on, Riker.
Can't until she gets rid of the vote screen.
Okay.
You know, we have this thing about the truck.
Define what?
Do we have an ordinance that defines what a truck is? I'm being serious.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think it says specific term.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Dead
What size
serious.
truck?
This is my suggestion to our legal staff.
Tonnage and act.
That I know, but I know what it means, but I think it's important that we check to see if we have an ordinance that defines what a truck is. I'm being serious about that.
We will, Riker. I'll
Okay.
get him to do that, yeah.
Okay.
I already said it, yeah.
Motion to adjourn. But I've never seen it.
Oh, truck traffic? No truck traffic? It's weight. Now we're back to weight. I don't know. I'm not
Could you
sure.
get that to Anita?
A little R or.
What we're doing is addressing water quality issues in our detention ponds. The kids come out and we work with them doing testing on different aspects of water quality like turbidity, phosphorus, nitrogen, temperature, dissolved oxygen, and we're monitoring our ponds and the quality of water that goes through them. You would plant this whole wet area right here, and what we're trying to do is, remember who had turbidity or the clarity in the water? Y'all did? Okay, you remember how when you look down to clarity? Okay, just imagine if this was all open ground and dirt. So when we get a rain, the rain comes off the edge of the slope there, washes here, and what happens? We put a bunch of dirt in there too. So we lose clarity even further than what we do with this grass here. So that's why grasses and trees and all this is good to have here to help with turbidity. Who had the nitrates and the phosphates? Okay, trees, grasses, and vegetation will pick up on that and absorb it and use it to create food for itself, right? Okay, dissolved oxygen. Cooler temperatures hold the oxygen, hold more oxygen. So if we've got a canopy, now this pond holds more oxygen, which is better for water quality. So that's why all this is important. That's your trick. You can kind of see where the root line would be. You see where it kind of almost like when y'all would look at your salinity levels, you can see where that brown and the kind of the light color hits. That's about how deep you want it. It doesn't have to be exact. They are tree seedlings, and like most young things, they recover quick. Okay. Great. Very good. Perfect.
We're on I-10 between the Chafalaya Basin Bridge and Baton Rouge. And this area of the interstate has too many crashes, many of which can be prevented. This math comes from our good friends over at State Police, and they have figured out that it takes an average person 5 seconds to check a text message while driving. They're going 70 miles an hour. During that 5 seconds, you've traveled 515 feet. Then if you look up and you see danger, you react. The distance it's going to take your car to stop, 852 feet. You combine that, and that means that it is going to take a distracted driver nearly 2/10 of a mile to stop their vehicle. And that's just not enough time, as clearly the stats show. They average about 800 crashes a year between Lafayette and Baton Rouge, and 55% of those are rear-end crashes. 22% are same-direction side swipes. So that means that 77% of these crashes are because people are not paying attention, driving too fast, or not giving themselves enough room to stop. So as you drive into Baton Rouge, you're going from rural swampland where it's easy to get in the zone and not pay attention. Now you're coming upon an urban area. And during the peak hours, going eastbound, there will be backups on the west side of the Mississippi River Bridge. In fact, you'll notice signs such as these that say be prepared to stop and have the flashing beacons. You'll also see 2 dynamic message boards and a speed limit reduction sign, all between Gross Tech and the I-10 Mississippi River Bridge. If you look to the right, you can see that we have rumble strips on the right-hand side. They're there to help you if you do get distracted and you veer off a little off the road. It'll make a loud noise and you know to get back on. And if you look on the left-hand side, we have cable barriers. These have prevented many crossover accidents, and they're there also for those who run off the road, and it will keep you from going into the other lane. Other safety measures that we have, besides the rumble strips, the cable barriers, and the warning signs, are our 511la.org app. You can use that hands-free, and they will provide you updates on congestion or road closures. We're also partners with Waze. You can plug that in or Bluetooth it and get the sound, and we'll tell you when there's a road closure or there's traffic up ahead, so you can be prepared to stop and avoid increasing these numbers of crashes that we've had in this area. So what we need people to do is don't tailgate, drive the speed limit, don't drive distracted, make sure you buckle up for your own safety. Most importantly, drive safely for yourself and for others, and enjoy your travels through Louisiana. Thanks for watching.
With a 5-minute rebuttal. Okay? We're not going to drag this out. There was a 2.5, 3-hour community meeting. I hope a lot of your questions got answered, and I would think that they did with the length of the meeting. So we're going to move forward. Will the Secretary please call roll?
Tom Seeger, Carolyn Parker, Bernie Willie, here. Todd Richard, here. Dave Doherty,
Here.
Barry Baggert, Patrick Fitzmaurice, here. Weldon Crawford, here. Kirk Drum, Ron Randolph. Here. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Please silence all phones and electronic devices. If you have an appeal, you disagree with something this commission does, you have the right to appeal it to the council. Appeal cards are over to my right on the post over here. And if you want to speak, there's speaker cards over there with it. Get it turned in, and they'll get it up here to us. Public speaking is 10 minutes each side, 5 minutes rebuttal. After your case has been heard, you're welcome to stay in the chambers, but if you go out in the lobby, please don't speak out there because the sound comes back into the chambers here. Go on outside, and I think we're going to have a decent weather out there if you need to go outside. Please rise for the invocation by Commissioner Randolph and the pledge by Commissioner
Seeger.
Seeger.
Gracious Father, once again, we come to you as long as we know how, thanking you for all the blessings you bestowed in our lives. throughout this day and throughout the past and even right now. We thank you for the presence of everyone in the audience. We thank you for our commissioners, Lord, and allow us to make the decisions that we can with the information that's available to us. And Lord, we ask that you bless our parish and our employees and all of our citizens. Lord, a special blessing and prayer and peace and comfort upon the family of Pug Lord and our deceased commissioner. Be with them, Lord, in a mighty way, and bless them as well. And Lord, we ask that you also be with all of our military personnel, veterans, law enforcement officers, firefighters, and medical personnel, that they might be able to help us and provide the services as well. In all these blessings we ask in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join us in pledging allegiance to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item we have for business is the approval of the September 3rd minutes. They were in your packet. Hopefully you had an opportunity to review them. Do I hear a motion to approve? Commissioner Drum.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes.
Thank you. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
The motion to approve passed.
Thank you. Staff, will we have any postponing of cases? No postponing. All right. The first item we have is case 2019-1530-ZC. Existing zoning is PBC2 Planned Business Center. The proposed zoning is AML, Advanced Manufacturing and Logistics District. It's 90.31 acres. The petitioner is Jones Fussell, Paul Marone. Owner is Allstate Financial Company, Bruce Weiner. The location is partial located on the south and west sides of Oshner, west of LA 21, Covington, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
Requesting.
You got,
I'm sorry, what?
you got to turn the microphone.
Emily has to turn them on, the mics. Do you know how to do it?
Let's see. Admin 1 and 2. See what you got now.
The petitioner is requesting to change the zoning from PBC2 to AML, Advanced Manufacturing and Logistic District. The 2025 future land use plan calls for the site to be developed as a planned district with residential uses while preserving the natural environment. Staff does not have any objection to the request, considering that the petitioned AML zoning district allow for uses that are parallels with the existing PBC2 zoning district. And at this time, staff would like to recommend approval of the request.
Thank you. Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone on behalf of the petitioners this evening. As Ms. Lambert just noted, our rezoning request is to go from the existing PBC2 Planned Business Campus to the AML, or Advanced Manufacturing Logistics District. As you all know from hearing this case last month, and for those of you that were at the community meeting, the purpose of the request is to accommodate a regional distribution facility for Medline Industries. That facility will be constructed at 800,000 square feet. The property itself can accommodate an addition on that building to 1 million square feet, but it's important that it be noted that the proposal is for an 800,000 square foot building. The addition to that building is if and only if the market would dictate that. It is inconceivable to Medline that the market could possibly be in a position to expand the facility for at least a 10-year period. So for the initial 10 years, the facility proposed is the 800,000 square feet that will be owner-occupied. There will be no debt on the facility. It'll be a LEED certified facility, state-of-the-art, first-class facility that will also take advantage and utilize solar power. Now, the purpose of the AML district, as you may know, is to provide a location for large-scale facilities to use in the transportation and logistics industries. That district is supposed to be located in close proximity to major transportation routes. I would submit to you that given those two criteria, this site and our request are in compliance with each of those and fulfill each requirement. Let's talk about the location and the surroundings. I provided you with some aerials and some site plans. The first site plan, the first aerial that you will see there, gives an overview of the property. As you will see, this site does not abut residential on any side. All sides are either commercial or the interstate or additional PBC2. To our south, we immediately abut I-12. To our east, we abut detention ponds and a sewer treatment pond. To our north, we abut additional PBC2 property, which is owned by the Wayner family. To our west, we abut vacant land that is zoned commercial, and I would describe the owners there as missing because we've been trying to locate those owners for about 10 years and have been unable to do so. But let's take it a bit further. If you will look at that site plan, you will see that the proposed building is approximately, actually it's more than a quarter mile from the closest home in Shady Lakes, which is to our north and our west. The building is approximately a half mile from the closest home in Maison du Lac subdivision. It is over 1,000 linear feet south and east of the existing roundabout at Ochsner Boulevard, and it is over 2,000 linear feet from the closest home in Normandy Oaks. If you'll go to the second slide, or the second document and site plan, you'll see some distances that will bring you in closer to the site itself and will illustrate for you the buffers that we have on the site. As you see, along I-12, we have a minimal tree buffer of 60 feet. That buffer on the east and west sides increases to 134 feet. On our east side, we have a 210-foot green space buffer. On our west side, we have over 700 feet of green space buffer. And on our north side, we have 200 feet at a minimum, and that's just to the proposed connector road. So, again, this site is located a long, long way from any residential development, and it is well buffered, as you see in that site plan. Also, you'll note in the site plan the amount of green space. At the 800,000 square foot facility, the property will have about 26.41 acres of green space. If the facility is expanded to 1 million square feet, then you would still have over 18 acres of green space on the site. Let's talk about the traffic and the trucks. First, at startup, and now keep in mind, startup would be mid-2021 if everything went perfect. Mid-2021, this facility would generate about 50 to 60 truck trips per day. If we project that out, based on anticipated growth, about 3 to 4 years beyond that, so now we're at 2024 perhaps, then 100 truck trips per day. If the facility is ever expanded to 1 million square feet, because market has dictated, and again, then we're talking 10, 20 years out, well into the future, then the facility could generate up to 170 trips per day. I recognize that number has been batted around, and it is a large number, but it is imperative, and I urge you to keep that number in context. What do I mean by that? That number is less than 1% of the traffic that is currently traveling Highway 21 and Highway 1077. There are over 28,000 vehicle trips along Highway 21 today. There are over 17,000 vehicle trips up and down Highway 1077 today. I tell you that because when you hear 170 trips 10 years into the future, it sounds like a lot. I would submit to you that less than 1% of the traffic today is not going to move the needle. It is not going to have a significant impact on the functionality of those roadways. Also, the trucks that would be utilized in this facility are Medline-owned trucks. They are owned by the company. Their drivers are employed by the company. Other than Medline trucks, you will have deliveries, most of which will be from Federal Express, and we presume will be serviced out of the Federal Express facility that is currently located north of this site off of Highway 1077. So those vehicles would be anything that you might see in the FedEx fleet, everything from the large trucks down to the delivery vans. It's also important to note that these vehicles and these truck trips will be off-peak. So what do I mean by that? The trucks will leave the facility in the morning. The inbound trucks will come in the afternoon. Medline's operations are designed to avoid putting traffic on the roadway during peak times, 7 to 9 a.m., 4 to 6 p.m. Also, Medline is keenly aware of and is cognizant of Hannon High School at the roundabout at 1077 and 1085. And there will not be any meaningful amount of traffic that will be generated by this facility during the take-in and let-out of that school. The typical inbound route for a truck at this facility is most likely coming off of Highway 1077. The reason I say that is that getting off at 1077, whether you're east or westbound, you will be able to almost immediately get into a dedicated turn lane that will put you on the extension road and that will bring you straight to this facility. As for outbound trucks, it will depend in part on its ultimate destination. However, I would tell you that as the easiest inbound route is coming off of 1077, the easiest outbound route is coming off of Highway 21. So you likely would see trucks that are going to utilize Highway 21 to get onto the interstate and go to their points of ultimate destination. It's important also to note that as to the Medline trucks, their route and their timing is controlled by Medline. They are computer generated, and Medline has the ability to dictate those routes and times. It's also important to note that the trucks that will visit this facility will not be going further into the interior portions of our parish. These trucks are not going down into Mandeville. These trucks are not going north into Covington. The only truck that is going north into Covington is one truck each day to distribute and deliver supplies to St. Tammany Parish Hospital. That's the same truck that is doing that delivery right now. Other than that, all other traffic will leave this facility and will go straight to the interstate. As to the employees, all of the employees at the facility will be off-peak. There will be shifts, and not one of the shifts will start between 7 and 9 or 4 and 6 in the afternoon. So the truck traffic is off-peak. The employee shifts are also off-peak. As for the noise that's generated by the trucks, I know that there is concern about the noise at Shady Lakes. I will tell you that I would remind you that there's a buffer. I would also point out that a truck decibel limit is 80 decibels. A car is 62 decibels. At 150 feet, a truck will have the same decibel level as a car at 50 feet. That does not take into account what you have in this instance, where you will have right-of-way, you will have 75 feet of treed buffer, then you will have a property line, then you will have a yard, and then you will have a home. So I submit that information to you to suggest that there are things that were taken into account when that road was being designed and in order to help address some of these concerns. Finally, I would point out in conclusion, I would point out that the traffic generated by a PBC2 use on this site would be 4 to 5 times the traffic generated from this facility. We would respectfully request your approval, and I'll be happy to address other issues in my rebuttal. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. All right. Do we have anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak in favor of this facility? So we'll go to the opposition. Leo Hemelt. Please state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Leo Hemelt. I live at 86 North Dogwood Drive. I'm not sure why this is beeping here.
I did.
My time's up.
Well, that was quick.
Not a good sign.
No, it's a great sign. You're good.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Leo Hemelt, I live at 86 North Dogwood Drive in Flowers Estates, Covington. By way of background, one of my many degrees, I have a master's degree in geography at USL and concentrated in city and regional planning. I worked as an urban planner for 2 years, once a year in Monroe and a year in Lafayette. Then I went to law school. Worked as an assistant DA here very early on under Marion Farmer. Did some of the planning and zoning litigation there, and then left and then came back and was there for 10 years and retired from the district attorney's office. You have in your packet a letter that was prepared regarding our opposition. And I think I'm just going to read it, and if you have any questions, it's very short, it's just a page and a half, and I'll go as fast as possible. It gives you a bit of a history there. The Economic Development Office went to parish planning and requested the creation of this classification. The uses in the classification were intended for isolated areas such as the land past the old Heart Hospital in Lacombe. This is as per Reed Falconer, who was the chair in 2014. The 15 uses were studied and approved by the council. These uses were never intended to be near residential areas. Petitioner offers to, at one point he did offer to exclude 14 and 15 uses, but that doesn't cure the problem. The problem is you're rezoning this for everything that can be placed under that. There is no property zone AM and L in the parish, and none have been requested until now. The parish conducted a comprehensive study in 2010, and when asked Monday by Ms. Wagner, Mr. Weiner stated, "That is what I wanted, is transitional from the most intensive to the less intensive. That's the responsible thing to do." Regarding traffic, Ms. Brister stated that at a leadership meeting that the connector road includes a path for biking and walking. Note, this design was not done anticipating high-volume 18-wheeler traffic. Petitioner cites their traffic count to show that there'd be much more traffic under the existing zoning. But according to the Department of Transportation and Development for Louisiana, one truck is equal to 6,000 cars in wear and tear on the roadway. So the roadway will obviously degrade faster with all these trucks. Regard to drainage and flooding, the amount of fill required for this 800,000 to 1 million square foot concrete pad will raise the level above the surrounding residential areas. To put the proposed Medline facility in perspective, the Lowe's on 190 is a 100,000 square foot building. The Medline fill build out is 10 times that size. And I want to add just for a moment here, I did some calculations on the size of this building because I was just, and for the first time I realized how huge it was. At 800,000 square feet, we're looking at that's the size of 13 football fields, including end zones. We know we all go to football games, we see that. So put that in perspective, that would also be 18 acres of warehouse. Now, if it goes to 1 million square feet, that's 17 football fields or 22 acres. Again, including end zones. So that is a big building, and I'm thinking maybe at Michoud they might be a building that big. I don't know, but that is certainly going to be a gigantic building. There are 18,000 registered voters in the immediate area. There are numerous numbers of neighborhoods. There are 19 named subdivisions. In a little over a week, more than 1,000 residents have signed the petition opposing this. Although I'll be honest with you, I don't think it matters whether it's 1,000, 10,000, or 2 people. It's whether this thing fits that zoning. And in my opinion, it does not. And that's where I think you have to look to what are we talking about as planning and zoning. If we look at that, Comprehensive zoning is designated to lessen congestion in public streets, secure safety from fire, promote health and general welfare. Such regulations shall be made after reasonable consideration of the character of a district and its peculiar suitability for particular uses, with a view for conserving the values of buildings and encouraging the most appropriate use of the land. I think when you look at it, when you take everything in context, this is not the right zoning for that piece of land where it's located. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I've just been handed some additional petitions.
Okay. All right. Are you finished, Mr. Email? All right. The next card I have is Donlin Hassenbowler.
Very good. My name is Donalyn Hassenbowler. I live at 83 Xenia Drive in Covington, Louisiana, but I'm here to talk on behalf of Archbishop Hannon High School. Good afternoon, Commissioners and fellow residents of St. Tammany Parish. My name is Donalyn Hassenbowler, Academic Dean and Assistant Principal at Archbishop Hannon High School, 71324 Highway 1077 in Covington. And speaking on behalf of our school's strong opposition to the rezoning of this property for the sale to Medline for them to construct a vast distribution center. The 90-plus acres of land currently being considered is not appropriately zoned site for a huge distribution center for several reasons. One, and the huge one, the infrastructure is just not there yet. Yes, it's near I-12, but the tie-in to Highway 1077 I-12 exit is not in place and probably will not be in place, all promises notwithstanding. All traffic would have to proceed to and around the circle on the same block as Archbishop Hannon High School. Before the parish built the circle, we were having traffic waiting for 15 minutes on all sides of 1077. I will applaud the parish's use of putting the traffic circle there. It has greatly reduced that traffic jam. And now we're talking about filling it up with trucks. It's going to be just as bad as it was before, and I-12 will be the parking lot that it is now. There are several neighborhoods nearby our school. Any land use expert would confirm that this industrial use, educational use, and residential use are not compatible. It's not about how close they are to the neighborhoods. It's about we all have to use the same exits and entrances. Mr. Wayne's attorney said there'd be a double axle trucks traveling maybe 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to and from the facility, and spoke very highly that the peak hours would be from 9 to 3. Well, happens to be that peak hours for schools are from 9 to 3. That's when our children and our parents come in and out of our school facility, and they will be blocked by these trucks. The Louisiana Department of Transportation has confirmed that there are no plans for improvement to the Highway 1077 exit at 112. They would have to be using Highway 21. This highway is not set up for this traffic. We already suffer from traffic not supported by the infrastructure, including traffic to and from Archbishop Hannon. And again, before the circle was built there, it was a mess. It was horrible all day, every hour. And the traffic circle brought great relief, and we greatly appreciate it. Now we're going to be back to having the same mess we had before, and you will be hearing from all these people who can't move. Already there are hours when trucks and cars are stopped like a parking lot on 1077 and I-12, a path these trucks will have to take when they finally make it around the circle by Archbishop Hannon. The infrastructure just cannot control and handle this additional log jam. Archbishop Hannon joins the hundreds of residents in opposition to the proposed zoning change that the current owner of the land is trying to get rezoned so he can sell his land to Medline. Archbishop Hannon High School opposes the building of this immense distribution center at this location. Traffic is already a nightmare. We already have major drainage and flood issues in the parish. In our area, our parking lot floods every time it rains heavily. The concrete pad of a vast distribution center would exacerbate that particular problem. We respectfully request that you deny this request for rezoning, thus allowing for traffic to and from which we plan to enjoy the present level of relief provided by the circle. It's infrastructure first and then development, not vice versa. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we have a number of cards here, and right now we've got 46 seconds, it looks like. So if Deborah Abear.
I'll defer.
We got a deferral? All right, next.
Okay. Nancy Wagner.
I defer till rebuttal, thank you.
Okay. Ryan Green. Elise Reed.
I can do it in 46 seconds. Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, my name is Elise Reed.
Please state your name and address.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Elise Reed, 24 Camellia Drive, Covington, Louisiana. Since what's before you today is not about who has an agreement as of October 9th to build a building on this property. Actually, what you're looking at is a change in zoning, a zoning which would allow for the manufacture of plastics, paint, glass, durable goods, food, furniture, and garments, and allow for research, development, and manufacture of aeronautics, automotive vehicles, computer and electronic equipment, pharmaceuticals, robotics, and hydraulics, and for scientific research and development, and for data centers and warehousing facilities, and for distribution and warehouse facilities.
Thank you.
7 seconds.
All right, Chris Massengill, we got 5 seconds. Pardon? Oh, okay. All right. Do we have any more? That's it. Okay. All right, we'll go into rebuttal. It'll be 5 minutes for each side. Mr. Morone.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. To respond to a few of the comments with regards to the zoning, as was noted at the community meeting, and we'll reiterate today, we are fully prepared to deed restrict the property. We mentioned that again in a meeting earlier this week. We stand ready, willing, and able to do that, to deed restrict the property. With regards to the intended use or the intended location of the AML zone, and perhaps Mr. Falconer suggested that it was always intended to be in isolated areas. With all due respect to Mr. Falconer, that language, if that was the intent, does not appear in the ordinance anywhere. And I read to you the language in the ordinance. That it said it should be located near your major transportation corridors. We are directly on I-12 between Highway 1077 and Highway 21. So I would submit to you that we are in a location that is contemplated by the language of that ordinance. With regards to, again, to the right location, again, if you look at the language in the ordinance, that is what this location fits that criteria perfectly. The connector road, that it is intended, not intended perhaps to carry significant traffic. That connector road is going to be 4 lanes. I would submit to you that it is not the intent of the parish to build a 4-lane road unless it intends to carry significant traffic. There's 45,000 vehicles that are traveling 1077 and Highway 21 in a given day. I would submit to you that this access road, which was needed 10 years ago, this connector road, is going to carry significant traffic. Is it 5,000 cars? I don't know. Is it 10,000? I don't know. But if it's 5,000, just 5,000 of that 45,000, then we're less than 4% of the traffic on the connector road. If it's 10,000, we're less than 2% of the vehicles on the connector road. With regards to the infrastructure, I would submit to you, again, that with the numbers I've given you, when you put it into perspective, the infrastructure is absolutely there, and we are a very small, almost immeasurable fraction of that. Let's talk about the building. I know Mr. Hemelt again talked about the 800,000 and the million square feet, but let's put that into perspective. Folger's facility in St. Tammany Parish, over 1 million square feet. The Associated Grocers facility, over 800,000 square feet. The Rooms to Go facility, over 800,000 square feet. But let's bring it in a little bit. St. Tammany Parish Hospital, in the middle of Covington, not right on the interstate, in the middle of Covington, over 600,000 square feet. The Baptist Church, just north of this, over 400,000 square feet. The Target and Belk shopping centers, just to our south and west, over 600,000 square feet, but that does not include Sam's, the movie facility, the movie house, the hotel, the rooms-to-go store, or the apartment complex. So to suggest that this parish doesn't have anything that's this size, I would respectfully disagree. I would also point out that we're not talking about a site that is the size of Lowe's. That we're talking about a site that in its final, right now the request is at 90 acres. This site will probably occupy, and what you see on that site plan is about 70 acres. So I urge you to keep that in context. I recognize that that is a big number that you're hearing, and I know that maybe at first blush, you might tell yourself, gosh, I don't know that there's anything that big in St. Tammany Parish, but there is. There's over 2 million square feet of commercial space at the Four Corners in Mandeville. When I say the Four Corners, I mean the area where Highway 22 and Highway 190, the old Kmart, the Whole Foods, the Steinmart, that area. Over 2 million square feet of retail space at that Four Corners. So I know this is a big facility, but it's on a large piece of ground. And I also know that this facility on that ground will generate far less traffic than most of the uses I just mentioned. And I know it'll generate far less traffic than a PBC2 facility, which allows 200-foot buildings. So on this 90 acres, we could have office, retail, commercial type uses with a height limit of 200 feet. So the traffic generated there would exceed it, again, by 4 or 5 times what the Medline facility would exceed. This is an appropriate location. This is a good use. Your staff has recommended it. I urge you to support the request this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. Okay. We'll go to the other side now. If you want to come up and state your name and address, and we've got 5 minutes for everybody.
That's right. Nancy Wagner, 33 Hyacinth Drive, Covington, Louisiana. I wanted to make sure you all get the full statute of Section 49 that ends with such facilities should be located in close proximity to major transportation routes with the ideal location allowing for multimodal opportunities. I do think you should read the entire ordinance or should have it read to you. And I've had this discussion numerous times. Mr. Marone knows our thinking. Deed restrictions do not cure this inappropriate zoning. Zoning belongs to the responsibility of the parish and you commissioners to decide on not to have private citizens try to spend money trying to protect deed restrictions. And then I just want to read one sentence. We urge you to follow the precepts of law, the revised statute that Mr. Hemelt read, the principles of zoning, appropriate use, and exercise care for the health, safety, and welfare of citizens. Please vote to deny this rezoning request. And I have the 1,000-some online petitions and additional written ones to turn into Helen. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we have a...
Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address.
Deborah Abear, 117 North Dogwood Drive. I just wanted to say we met with the attorney, Paul Wayner, and the Wayners the other day on Monday, and I asked him about the 90 acres. Medline only wants 67.47 acres, and I asked him to please separate the two, and he can do that in tonight's meeting. He could have separated it, and he never did. So I asked him nicely to please separate out the 67.47 acres so we don't have 23 acres out there with questionable zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next. Please state your name and address.
Ryan Green, 14488 Lake Tahoe Drive. So Mr. Marone did talk about the residences that would be most closely impacted. He spoke about somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 linear feet from the closest residence, and so that would be me and my neighbors. One of the things that he didn't mention as well is that you would not be able to hear truck traffic because of the buffer zones. When I'm in my backyard in the evening, I can hear the interstate. I hear trucks. I know I can distinguish trucks from cars. It's not hard to do. So to say that we would not be able to hear that, I think is inaccurate. And then we want to add 28,000 more trucks, delivery trucks, or add more delivery trucks to the already 28,000 cars that are on Highway 21, particularly at Oxner Boulevard. If a truck is going to come down Oxner to 21 and have to go to Gulfport, they're going to have to go south on 21 and then get across 3 lanes of traffic, which is tough enough to do in an old Honda Pilot. They're going to have to do that in a delivery truck. That just doesn't seem safe. So he mentioned about the Four Corners area. I can't imagine that 1 million square feet of a project was put down there at one spot. Right? It was grown incrementally. The infrastructure, if it wasn't there, was added incrementally and was not just, let's put this big building and then let's figure out what to do around it. It was thought through a little bit more so. I will say Mr. Marone was accurate that he said this site is not Lowe's. I agree with you 100%. It's 10 times Lowe's. It's much bigger, much more intrusive. It is not suitable. It is not compatible with the area for all the reasons that we have already given. So I urge you to vote no on this petition. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who wishes to speak in rebuttal? Yes, sir. Come to the microphone and state your name and address.
My name is Charles Belsom. I live at 824 Rue Bordeaux in the village of Normandy Oaks. I think the biggest issue here is trucks. And when you compare a volume of cars to a volume of trucks, it's inconceivable. Anybody drives on I-12 knows how it is. Trucks slow down traffic. Trucks are difficult to go from stop to a speed limit, or at least to some kind of limit that the rest of the trucks, the rest of the cars can flow. To put trucks on Oshner Boulevard is insane. And it has no aprons. We're filling up the sides of the road continuously because the FedExes and those kind of trucks that do come down that highway run off the road almost continuously. So I advise you, I strongly hope that you would vote against this change in zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? We've got 25 seconds in rebuttal against. Seeing no one, seeing no hands.
Very quickly now, as a resident, not a representative of Japan High School, trucks going around our circle, the one you just built that looks so beautiful there, they will destroy that circle, and you'll be wasting all that money that you used to build it. Thank you.
Thank you. 12 seconds. Anyone else wish to speak? Yes, come to the microphone, state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Maria Meir, 4 Begonia Drive. I think the important thing to realize is that we're not against Medline, okay? It's just not in our neighborhood. We have continuous deaths that have occurred on I-12. It is a congested, horrible area. The noise level, the flooding that we're concerned about, our flood insurance going up because we have a volunteer fire department that is not adequately prepared to take care of the immense building and infrastructure should there be a fire. And I think that needs to be also looked into, and ask you please consider the will of the people. We live there. This is our sanctuary. This is our home. Medline has other opportunities to find other places. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That takes all of the time. I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Crawford.
Okay. First, I'd like to commend everybody here on both sides. This has been a long process, but it's been, I guess the best way to put it is everybody's been very well behaved. It's been pleasurable, which is not always the case. I've been to a lot of these meetings before I got on this side of the table, and they can get out of hand sometimes. And everybody on both sides has done a great job. We had the community meeting on the 26th, and I think some good information came out of that from both sides. We heard a lot more from the residents and a lot more different residents. We heard a lot more from Medline. Mr. Dimitri furnished a ton of information and did a very good job with Paul of explaining everything. So I feel that whatever my decision is, I feel I can make an informed decision much more so than before. So I just want to commend everybody and thank you for that.
Thank you. Commissioner Seeger.
I have a question for Mr. Dimitri. When you spoke at the community meeting, you told us about the Medline fleet. I'm a little confused as to how many 18-wheelers as opposed to delivery-type trucks. Can you break that down a little bit and explain what kind of delivery system you have there?
Yes, sir. Thank you. First of all, I want to express my deepest condolences for Mr. Lorraine. I just learned about that, so to his family, our deepest condolences. So today, we have about 10 trucks that will, by the time we open the facility, will grow to about 25 trucks. When we say trucks, out of those 25 trucks, 15 to 17 will be single-axle 14-wheel trucks, about 5 to 10 straight trucks, and about 5 to 7 vans, similar to like FedEx vans. But all of our fleet we refer to as trucks. And so those 25 single-axle straight trucks and vans typically do 1 to 3 trips per day, and so that's how we come to the 50 trips per day when we open the facility, 150 to 170 at a 1 million square foot build out.
And do we have any idea what the decibel level is? The decibel level that was reported, was that for the single axle trucks?
Yes, sir. I mean, we obviously went for the worst case scenario. The straight trucks, obviously very common. You know, your moving trucks, your Penske trucks, they're all they're straight trucks. And the vans are obviously on the road already. So we assume that when the connector road is built and you have, 5 to 15,000 vehicles on that, the most of them are not going to be big trucks. Most of them are going to be cars, vans, and straight trucks, not the single axle. And so we measured the single axle.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. I don't have anyone else in the queue to speak. We need to take action on this. We need a motion. Commissioner Seeger, I still have you in the queue. I haven't.
I again want to say thank you for everybody and everybody's concern. As per the staff recommendation, I move that we approve the zoning change.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve the change from PBC2 to AML. Do I have a second? Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any further discussion? Please vote. We have 5 yeas, 3 nays. Pardon?
6.
Yeah. Based on the Robert's Rules of Order, I guess that's what we go by, this motion fails. So it will go to the commission with a failed result. Thank y'all for coming. We're going to hold up for just a few minutes. If y'all want to stay, that's great. If you want to leave, that's fine too. Okay?
You might want to mention the bigger
Is there rules say that you have to have 6?
That's when I put Carlin in. I counted to the step page, and she double checked, and she says it's the majority of the commission.
The majority commission, not the majority of the court.
Not simple majority of the commission.
I don't remember. Do you know what case it was? Was it this case?
Yeah.
I put them in order. This one?
11 commissioners.
89.
Majority of total commissioners would be
They just tear it up? Okay.
I thought once we have a quorum.
You would need 6 of the 11. 6 of the 11. One could be applied to that. 6 votes. No action. The recommendation will not count. No action. I'll have to check and see. We'll have that corrected. Like you said, it's no action.
It could have said that. The computer might have said that. Yeah, it could have said that, but it doesn't mean the right rule.
It's a 5-vote vote. You need 6 votes for permission to take action. One or the other.
I'll tell you, I didn't realize that majority of the commission. I would have thought that. Simple majority of the court.
Do they know they only have to fill out one form, not 20 million?
We'll probably get it.
Mr. Randolph wants you good. Well, I'm glad I left it up on the screen. Not my fault, but the machine shouldn't answer for us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's all up confused. So I'm like, what? You leaving?
We're going to resume in a moment. The chairman had to step out for a second, but there was some confusion on the outcome on the screen, which we didn't notice. Apparently, the software that is used defaulted to pass, whereas our particular rules say we have to have a majority of the members. We have 11 members that requires a vote of 6. Unfortunately, we didn't have all 11 members here, one passing away and 2 out. So the screen incorrectly said that the motion passed. Regardless, all of the individuals have an opportunity to appeal to council. We fully expected this matter to go before the council, and this is just a step in that direction. So just give us a couple more minutes, Mr. Doherty, or we'll be back in just a moment.
What you gonna say? You want to TMI.
Thanks for your comments. It's good. So hopefully there's it's good. You have your vote there. You have a vote there.
Yes. It was 5-3. The ones that were against were Shard, Drum, and Randolph.
Richard,
Drum, and Randolph.
All right, we're going to get started back on the agenda.
Shard, Drum, and Randolph.
Next item is 2019-1575-ZC, existing zonings A2 Suburban District, proposed zoning PF1 Public Facilities District. It's 2 acres. Petitioners David Wyndham, owners Liz Beth Peter, Michael Charlton, Andre Charlton, Philip Michael Peter, parcel located on the north side of Louisiana 1085, east of Beatico Creek, Madisonville, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
All of the 2025 future land use plan designates the site to be developed with residential uses. Staff doesn't have any objection to the request, considering that the objective of the PF1 is to provide for the location of governmental and institutional uses to the public. Note that the site is proposed to be developed with a fire station, and staff would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Anyone here representing Petitioner David Wyndham? Is David Wyndham here? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Hello. My name is Philip Michael Peter. I live at 59246 West Harbor Lane in Lacombe. I'm here representing the people you listed there. My sister Elizabeth Peter, who lives in Hawaii, my cousin Michael Chalaron, who lives in Baton Rouge, and my cousin Andre Chalaron, who lives in Austin, Texas. We are speaking on behalf of David Wyndham of the fire department and requesting that the 2-acre parcel that listed is rezoned from suburban A2 to the PF1 for the construction of a fire station. I'm not sure how much additional information. We are under contract to sell those 2 acres to the fire department. As a bit of background, the 4 of us own what is about 50 acres of property there. We're the descendants of Philip E. and Vivian Peter, who lived at the 109 Peters Road address that's known there now. Part of our desire to sell this is that the station will be designated a memorial station with their names on the facility. So we've carved out 2 acres of our 50-acre parcel. We understand, actually I met David several years ago regarding another piece of property we had. So we know the fire department has been looking for property in that area for quite some time. We seem to be one of the few owners that are willing to work with them to provide the land that they need. Particularly with the Beatico Creek subdivision not having adequate coverage from the fire department. My understanding is the response times they currently have for that department or that development are quite extensive. So, that's about all I know or I can say.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's see if there's anyone else that wishes to speak in favor. I see. Looks like a fireman coming up too. Please state your name and address.
Yes, my name's Randy Hess. I'm the fire chief of St. Tammany Fire District 2. I live at 536 Loden Way in Madisonville. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, obviously we come before you tonight as the fire district to ask for a rezoning of this property for which will be our 4th fire station. Just a little bit about our fire department. I'm sure you all know in Madisonville we're one of the fastest growing fire districts in the parish. The first map I gave you is the area that we encompass. To make it simple, we cover from basically the Chafuncta Bridge to the parish lawn, and then we also cover the Pinnacle Shopping Center and both Flowers Estates, north and south. As of January of this year, we went from a PIO rating from a 5 to a 3, which was pretty outstanding. Because of that, we're getting re-rated again this year because we dropped 2 points. We operate out of 3 stations. We have 3 engines, a ladder truck, and a district chief, which is staffed every day. And we have a maximum currently of 12, but it'll be 13 before the end of the year because I have some people getting out of rookie school. Total employees, we have 42. We run about 1,500. Well, we're on track to run about 1,500 calls, which is about 100 calls more than last year. So why do we need the fire station? We started looking for property about 2 years ago because we recognized when Beatico Creek was being developed that, you know, it's 1,000 plus homes. So we knew we were going to need something. The closest station that we have to the entrance of Beatico Creek is 2.7 miles. Doesn't sound like a lot. But in a few seconds, I'll get you to turn a page to see some of the, we call them demand zones, grids, and I have them highlighted on page 2, or the second map. And you could thumb through, I'll just go to, if you, on the page with the bar graphs, that says 2235 west and 2235 east, just to give you an indication to how long it takes us to get there. In the front, very front of the neighborhood, it takes us almost 9 minutes. That's unacceptable for us. And that's not even including the time that it takes for the call to come in to get processed for us to get the call. Now, on the back side of the neighborhood, which from the very front entrance to the very back is over 1.5 miles. So it's pretty obviously a big subdivision, and that takes us almost 11 minutes. Now keep in mind, this is an average over 2 years, well, from January 1st of 2018 through today, okay? So, like I said, we started looking 2 years ago, and as Mr. Peters said, it's very difficult to find property in this area. We happened to get lucky in finding him. Just so you know, on the second page with those grids, this is an old map which doesn't show a brand new neighborhood that's being developed at Highway 21 in Perilou, which I'm told has 100 plus homes. We also have Fox Branch, which is an existing neighborhood, and you can, you know, look through and see the times that it's taken us. I mean, they're a bit excessive. We realize that. You know, we just, like I said, had a hard time finding property. So, let's see. So in closing, you know, I'd like to remind y'all, our mission to protect life and property. Currently, it's hard to do that in the situation that we have now with the extended response times. Time is critical to us, whether it be fire or medical. So I hope I've presented enough to show you that we have a real need to properly serve our citizens, and we appreciate your consideration on this issue.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? I'm going to close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Randolph. Second by Commissioner Randolph.
I'm going to ask a question real quick.
All right. We have... you need a question?
Yeah, I'd like to Chief Hass, I hate to make you come back up, but I'm curious. I'm fully supporting this, but what is your anticipated reduction in time with this new station? Because obviously that was a staggering number you gave us.
I can tell you this, and I'm not going to try to sit here and tell you we're obligated to meet 5 minutes and 10 seconds by PIL and NFPA, which is the guidelines that we go off of. I can tell you about 1.5 miles from the time we get the call to the time we get there, because it takes us time to get out the station, and they allow us 1 minute and 20. I anticipate for Beatico Creek specifically, the very back, I'm still not sure we make it. We can't go 100 miles an hour, not that we do, but we can't go fast in a residential neighborhood. However, on 1085 and the roads that come off of 1085, I anticipate that we can probably make just about all of that in 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
That's wonderful news. I guess there's no other opportunity for you. You hate for you to build a station and find land later that's closer that helps meet it.
Well, like I said, we're blessed to find this. I mean, if we can't wait any longer. We just, this has been a long process to find property.
Understood. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Next item, item 3, 2019-1581-ZC. Existing zoning is A1 suburban. Proposed zoning is A2 suburban. It's 2.66 acres. The petitioner is Angela and Veston Jenkins. Owner is Angela and Veston Jenkins. Parcel located on the east side of 4th Avenue, south of Hillenburg Road, being a portion of Farm Number 15, Hillenburg Lots and Farms, Covington, Ward 3, District 5. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan designates the site to be developed with residential uses. Staff does not see any compelling reason to recommend approval of this request, considering that the site is surrounded by A1 suburban residential zoning designation on the north, east, and south side. So at this time, staff would like to recommend denial of the request.
Thank you. Angela or Veston Jenkins, are you here? Please come to the mic and state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Veston Jenkins, 69152 4th Avenue, Covington, Louisiana. I'm trying to get this over to A2. My neighbor on the north is, he's A1, he's 5 acres. The one on my east is 10 acres, which is just woods. South, they're A2. He has 2.5 acres, and the other one has about an acre. I think he's A2 or A3. On the west of me is 3 pieces of property joining mine. One is 1.25 acres, it's A2. The other 2 is just 2 lots, they're A2. I'm trying to get mine into A2 instead of A1 because I don't have 5 acres. I've lived there 57 years. When we moved there, it wasn't 5 acres. It was 4 acres and something. I'm just trying to get this so I can leave this to my daughters. Split it and leave it to them. That's all I'm trying to do.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you.
So,
anyone else wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll close the floor to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Yes. Is it on?
You should be.
On? Yes. I think Mr. Jenkins has a good case. I move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve. Commissioner Randolph.
I second that.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is 2019-1583-ZC. Existing zoning's A2 Suburban District. Proposed zoning's A2 Suburban District and Manufactured Housing Overlay. It's 5 acres. The petitioner's Teresa Gore Spears, and the owner is Teresa Gore Spears. Parcel located on the east side of Transmitter Road, south of U.S. Highway 190 in Lacombe, Ward 7, District 11. Staff?
The 2025 Future Land Use Plan calls for the site to be developed with residential uses, including manufactured homes. Staff doesn't have any objection to the request and would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Is Spears, Mr. and Ms. Spears here? Please come forward and state your name and address, please.
My name is Teresa Spears, and I live at 59294 Transmitter Road in Lacombe. And I'd like to have y'all's approval to be able to let my nephew put a manufactured home on the 2nd acre, which I have no children, and eventually he's going to get the land anyway. And he's got a fiance and a young baby, and they would like to get a house or home pretty soon. And I'm open for questions or whatever.
All right. Let's see if there's anyone else that wishes to speak. I don't think there will
sir.
be.
I've talked to a bunch of my neighbors, and they said they had no objection, so they felt they didn't need to come. Of all the ones I did speak to, nobody had an objection to it, because I guess they figure just 2 blocks up the road, there is a trailer park with 20 trailers in it.
Okay. Let me ask, let me see if there's anybody that wishes to speak against.
Okay.
I doubt if there is, but is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak against adding manufactured housing overlay to this property? All right. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Crawford.
Okay, thank you for hearing.
Oops. Yes, I'm familiar with the area, very familiar, and I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Crawford to approve. Commissioner Fitzmars.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmars. I got a question for staff. It's 5 acres, and we're going to add the manufactured housing overlay to all 5 acres. Now, Ms. Spears, I think I heard she's going to basically subdivide this property to give her nephew 2 acres. 1 acre?
Get back up and ask her.
Does she need to come back and with the survey on what she's?
Yeah, if she's going to subdivide and give him a portion of the property, then she's going to have to go through the minor subdivision process, yeah.
Okay.
Is he allowed to put it on there still under my name?
He can. I mean, if you'd like to, you can call our office tomorrow, and we can go over that with you.
Okay, call the commissioner's office or?
The planning department, yes.
Planning department. Yes. Because I didn't really want to subdivide it, because eventually he's going to get all 5 when I pass it.
Okay. All right.
And if he could just put it on the 2nd acre, I know he's got to go through all the permits with the septic tank and CLECO, and we understand all that.
Call Ms. Lambert's office tomorrow, and she'll go over all that with you, what needs to be done so that it stays legal. Let's put it that way.
Oh, okay. No problem. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is 2019-1587-ZC. His existing zoning is A3. The proposed zoning is A3 and manufactured housing overlay. It's .204 acres. The petitioner is Frida Verlinda Ray Torregano, and the petitioner is Frida Verlinda Ray Torregano. Parcel located on the west side of Vincent Road, north of Martin Road, east side of Creek Street, Slidell, Ward 9, District 14. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the site to be developed with residential uses, including manufactured homes. Staff doesn't have any objection and would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. One of the Torganos here, or? Yes, sir. State your name and address.
Yeah, I'm Oswald Turgeon. I'm here to speak for Freda Turgeon. And the piece of property we're speaking of, we had it for a few years, a bunch of years, really. And I tried to put a house on it, but the road going back there, they say it's private. And we can't get nobody, the parish to develop. They say if more people live back in the area, there's nobody back in that spot. And we decided to just go and put a trailer where somebody can get some use out of it until, a mobile home or.
Okay. All right.
But other than that, that's what I would like to do.
All right.
We both would like to do.
Okay. You need to fill out a speaker card. They're over here on the
Podium.
Okay.
Fill it out with your name and address and give it to Miss Lambert.
Okay. That's my wife, so I
didn't
think.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, all right.
All right. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir. I would like to go ahead and make a motion to approve. I'm very familiar with that area, so I'd like to make a motion to approve.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Willie.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Willie. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Mr. Fitzmaurice?
Thank you. Motion carries. Next item is 2019-1589-ZC, existing zonings NC4 Neighborhood Institutional District and A4 Single Family Residential District. Proposed zonings PF1 Public Facilities District at 6.25 acres. Petitioners Steve Hudson, owners William and Sherry Caranis. Parcel located on the south side of Louisiana 1088, west of Forest Brook Boulevard, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 7. Staff?
Staff doesn't have any objection to the request, considering that the PF1's purpose is to provide for the location of governmental and institutional uses to the public. The site is proposed to be developed with a religious use facility, and at this time, staff would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Mr. Hudson here? Yes, come to the mic and state your name and address, please.
Steve Hudson, 18241 Hosmer Mill Road, Covington, Louisiana. We currently have a purchase agreement for the 6.25 acres from the Caranises. That's where the All Creatures kennel, overnight kennel, is located. And it's as far Mandeville Bible Church. We currently have our church, we're an old line church. In fact, we're the oldest Protestant church building on the North Shore. And we are really outgrowing that. So we're looking to purchase this property, to demolish the existing buildings there, and then to construct a worship a center there.
All right.
We are a very conservative church, and we're a very quiet church. We are already in a residential neighborhood, and in fact, we're right next door to a house that was built after our church was built, and we never get any complaints. We have nice neighbors, and we're very good neighbors to everyone. We think it'll be a very nice addition to the area. The size of the building is undetermined at this time, although we are thinking of building the facility to accommodate up to 300 people, but our membership right now is about 80, 85, but that would be our intent.
All right, thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor, supporting this? Anyone wish to speak against? Yes, come forward, state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Mitchell Graff. I'm at 1140 Brook Court, Mandeville, Forest Brook subdivision.
Really, this is the first I've heard of it. I'm not saying I'm against, but what I'm looking for is could we get some more information, please, on exactly what it is. Even the location of where it is. Currently, I moved into this house that would back up to this property a year ago, and we've got quite a real luscious and pretty forested area behind that. I'm not quite sure what the intent would be, if there's a buffer zone, if that's going to be chopped down. Drainage, again, another issue. Also wondering, parking lots, is it going to be lighted? Just try to get some general information as far as what it would all entail. That's really all I had to say.
Okay. I'm going to suggest that you get with the gentleman, Mr. Hudson, offline, and y'all see what you get the information you're looking for. I don't know which way this is going to go as far as the vote of the commission, but you will get sufficient answers, and if the answers aren't what you like, you have the opportunity to appeal this to the commission, to the council. Okay?
Within 10 days.
All right, you got to do that within 10 days, so don't wait till 11 days.
We need a speaker card for him.
Okay, we need
I have one.
Speaker card. Did you fill one out, Mr. Hudson? Speaker card?
He's a petitioner.
Okay, don't leave one on you because you're the petitioner. All right, I'm going to bring it back to anyone else wish to speak against? I'm going to bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is 2019-1592-ZC. Existing zoning is A3 Suburban District and NC4 Neighborhood Institutional District. Proposed zoning NC5 Retail and Service District. It's 7.675 acres. The petitioners Joan Fussell LLP, Jeffrey Shane, owner Dale Dirks, Donna Noble Dirks, Linda Cleland, Lloyd Ostendorf, Randall Keith Ostendorf, Brian Kirk Ostendorf, Lonnie Luann Ostendorf, Alfred Gerald J. Oliver, LLA, C. Ostendorf, Valerie O. Susky, Trudy O. Busby, Irene Humelin, I'm not even going to try this one, REIMONDENQ, Noel Homer Travers, James Travers, and Stephanie J. Polisi. Parcel located on the east side of LA 1077 and on the west side of LA 21, south of Dummy Line Road, Madisonville, Ward 1, District 4. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan designates this site to be developed with commercial and residential uses. Staff is not completely opposed to changing the zoning to commercial. However, a less intense NC designation would be more.
Is your mic on?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, how to do it? How do you get to the screen?
Here, we got the expert right there. Okay. Now we got it. Just do it again.
Okay. The 2025 future land use plan designates this site to be developed with residential and commercial uses. Staff is not completely opposed to changing the zoning to commercial. However, a less intense NC designation would be more appropriate since the site is abutting A3 Suburban to the north and west and NC1 on the north and east sides. Staff recommends that the request for the NC5 district designation be denied.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm. I'm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. I have the pleasure of representing this group of property owners, and I commend the chair, who probably did a better job of reciting my clients' names than I could have, because it's a little unusual to have that many clients and this many properties. I'd like to start our discussion, if you would take a look in the packet that you have as it relates to the sketch or survey that we provided you of the 9 properties. And assuming that all of you can turn to that pretty easily, you will see that this is an assemblage of 9 properties owned by this group of people, most of which live and have lived there for a long time and made it their home. If you've been by the property, and I hope that you have, if not recently, certainly through the course of time, you've traveled Highway 21 or 1077. These are all neat, well-kept homes, and in many cases have housed generations of families in that particular area. This is an interesting case, from my perspective at least, in that when I was contacted by this group 6 or so months ago, they recognize that the environment that they live in, the environment that they have been in, the environment that they grew up in, has changed significantly over the course of time. And as they envision their future plans, albeit to move to another location, etc., it certainly provokes thoughts as to what would be the likely use of this property in the future. Is it really reasonable or realistic to think that people would likely start a new homestead or a new residential life for their family for the foreseeable future at that location? It doesn't mean that it's a bad location for residents. It's just that once was a 2-lane, somewhat sleepy highway crawling down the east side and west side of this triangular property is really a far different situation today. In many ways, a much better situation. Oh, certainly there are more cars, but all of us live with more cars. And by the way, most of us drive cars, so we're part of the cars that we all live with. But my clients have a vision that at an appropriate time in the future, they hope to assemble and market their property as one, believing that rather than selling those properties off individually and taking a chance as to how each one might get zoned and how each one might get developed and how each might impact the other, their vision is that perhaps there will be an entrepreneur, a developer, a company, a business, maybe a couple that want to purchase this property and redevelop it, because that's certainly what it would be, a redevelopment site. Interestingly, we did not think it was appropriate to seek a highway commercial zone. Yet these properties are abutted by 2 state highways. I would like you to look at the sheet in your packet, the Google imagery that gives you the existing zoning in the area. And I'm sure that all of you have looked at it, but let's just point out a couple of things. First and foremost, hopefully you can identify subject property. You can see that to the south at the tip or point, there is existing NC5. That is the primary reason that really we seek NC5, although there are other reasons as well. But if you'll work your way up the Highway 21 corridor going north, you will see the various zones on each side of the property. The same thing on 1077. You will also see, if you go further up Highway 21, you even have beyond the school some highway commercial zoning. My point is that it's not hard commercial in that area, but it's certainly not residential. It's a mixture of neighborhood commercial. As you go to the south, I think all of us are familiar with the storage facility, which is a beautiful facility, well kept, etc. Services the needs of a lot of people in that area. Most of us are familiar with Keith Young's restaurant. Does a very good job. It's a somewhat indiscreet but attractive building that obviously gives people an opportunity for a dining experience. And we have many businesses in that area, professionals, whether it's veterinarians, lawyers, and such, that again provide services. So one of the points I'd like to make is that I believe is that as we allow the residential community to grow and expand, I believe that the commission has a duty to at least examine the possibility of expanding modest commercial zoning to provide goods and services to the people that live in that area. Because you know what happens if you don't? Those people still need the goods and services, but they're going to have to travel in those same cars, and they're going to have to travel greater distances and presumably create more traffic pressure at other intersections. So that is one significant point we see, that where we have the merger of two highways and the gateway to the fine town of Madisonville, we believe that this is a great opportunity in the future for a redevelopment as NC5. The other thing that I'd like to discuss with you is, well, Jeff, what is NC5? Why NC5? What do these other zones do? The neighborhood commercial zones are cumulative zones in that an NC5 allows the owner of the property to make the uses that are available in NC4, NC3, NC2, and NC1. So I'm not going to read all 5 zones to you, but I would hope that you would be interested to know what kind of uses are we talking about if you recommend the rezoning of this property. The easy one is NC1. It's styled professional office district, and it's essentially for professional and business offices, lawyers, vets, accountants, and other forms of business offices. If you move to NC2, you start to get into the retail and service district. That's goods and services. There's actually 25 uses listed under NC2. I'll just call out a few: bakeries, florists, drugstores, delicatessens, jewelry store, hardware store, toy stores, I don't know if there are toy stores anymore in this world, wearing apparel shops, clothing store. So there's a good blend of modest retail and service establishments. NC3 is, I think, unique. It's a good zone, but it's a lodging district. It allows for bed and breakfast under 10 rooms. It allows for inns or guest houses under 10 rooms. So NC3 is a very modest, in my view, lodging district. And remember that this is 7.65 acres. NC4 is a little more expansive. It's called institutional, but it allows dance studios, music studios, churches, child daycare centers, nursery schools, things of that nature. And NC5, the zone that we seek for this property, it would also allow only 5 additional uses. A farmer's market. We have some farmers markets in Covington, Mandeville, Slidell, and other locales, and hopefully all of you have visited that and have some idea what it does. Restaurants in excess of 5,000 square feet. Restaurants with a lounge component. Not a bar room, not a lounge, not a nightclub. A restaurant with a lounge component, which is pretty typical in many restaurants. I mean, that could even be a pizza parlor that happens to have draft beer and wine as well. A food store under 3,000 feet, specifically not a gas convenience store. So not a service station, not a gas, not a tire place, not a repair shop, etc. A food store specifically. And last but not least, dry cleaning, laundry, and self-service. So when my clients and I looked at all of these uses and realized that we had 2 state highways, that we had 7.65 acres, that we had a mixture of various commercial zones and uses in the area, and we know the number of cars that travel north and south on 21 and 1077, we felt like going to highway commercial would be a mistake. Those uses are intense and could produce impacts that may not be fair to people or property owners in the area. We felt like neighborhood commercial 5 was appropriate, was not unreasonable, did not produce impacts that would be unfair to our neighbors, and would give this property an opportunity to be sold in the future, redeveloped as an assemblage, so that we would have, hopefully, highest and best use and become continue to be an important component of the Madisonville community. If any of you have any questions or comments at the appropriate time, I'll be glad to address them. But I ask you to consider the recommendation of NC5 for this parcel to our parish council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of this zoning change? Come to the podium and state your name and address. If you haven't filled out a speaker card, okay.
Mr. Shane used all the time. We'll give this guy a minute or so. Just tell him.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Dr. David Moore. I am a veterinarian. My office is right across the street on the east side of the property in question. I'm here to speak in favor of the rezoning application. This area is long overdue for commercialization, and the Highway 21 overlay district has been a problem for all the property owners in the area for a long time, even though it was well-intentioned, it's really limiting the economic development. And furthermore, with regard to the health, safety, and welfare of the area, it's also limiting our access to basic utilities such as water, sewer, street lights, fire hydrant, even sidewalk, things like that, that really damaging the area looks and operate. Also, Highway 21 is the only road between Covington and Madisonville. As Mr. Shane talked about, all the traffic that passes by, and people come in and out of my office, things like that. That area is really a prime commercial growth area, and it should be proceeding that way. I just want to speak in favor of that, and also hope that the parish will take a long, hard look at the commercial district overlay for that area, and maybe kind of bring it up to the modern standard, if you would. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? I'm going to close the floor to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmars.
I have a question for Jeff. The strip of land to the east side of, abutting between the property line and 21, is that part of the 21 servitude? Is that, do you know who owns that? It's not part of this property, obviously, but it is a little strip. You see what I'm talking about? If you look at the aerial?
Yes. I'm not sure what that plotting connotes, but I can tell you that my clients own from highway to highway.
Okay, so it must be a servitude or something.
Might be.
Okay. I think. Yeah, I live in the area, and I think it's appropriate considering what's around there, so I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Fitzmars to approve. Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Jeff. This typically would have been Pug's area of expertise, so I'm absolutely confident that this is the right request, and I'm going to go ahead and second this motion. We need this particular corridor, that particular triangle, to be commercial, and NC5 is appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Drum.
Jeff, I just want you to get up and down all the time, that's all.
My wife appreciates you doing that.
I'm looking at this area, it's 9 pieces of property.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are they all owned by, are they all in one family, in a sense?
No, sir. In some cases, that is the case, meaning that there's some common blood between the group, but not necessarily. But they're obviously all not only neighbors, but on the same page, because they're all co-petitioners in this case.
Okay, so what we have is 9 individual lots. Are they signed to be a corporate entity? Because we'll be taking 9 different pieces of land and converting it into one, but what is there to keep them from, let's see, partial number 1, whoever that is, deciding that they're not going to be part of this group and we've just changed the property?
Good question, and I think maybe I can make a distinction and try to clarify. It is 9 parcels. You are not re-subdividing those 9 parcels into one, but you are being asked to recommend the rezoning of all 9 parcels into the same zone. There is nothing that would bind any one or combination up to 9 to do anything in concert, but each of them know now what's across the fence in terms of their zoning. They do not run a risk that Joe Blow has X zone and I've got Y and this person has Z. The plan is to, as I said, redevelop and market as a group. But if that plan were to fail, I would suggest to you that you've still done a mini comprehensive zone or a small plan zone for this area where you have taken these properties and given it an opportunity. I believe the likelihood is that you'll have a higher quality development of a 7.6 acre parcel than you would of 9 individual parcels.
I'm sorry, it's just difficult for me to think of taking 9 individual property lots and putting them all into one zoning. Is that what we're doing?
Yes, sir, it is what you're doing, but I don't mind telling you, I've appeared before you many, many times before, and probably the specific issue was not the fact that there were multiple parcels, but we rezone multiple parcels that are contiguous all of the time.
Yeah, but they were probably owned by one person. I don't remember individual families.
But would it really matter? Because if you had individual parcels, that one person could decide to sell parcels 1, 3, and 5 to John. I mean, I don't mean to be argumentative. I'm saying that I think conceptually I'm not sure that there's a difference, but I certainly respect your view. I have trouble wrapping my mind around certain things in life, and I think I hear what you're telling us, and I respect that. So.
I'm just, it's just taking a group and making it one, but there's no agreement between the group that they are a one.
I'm sure you're aware of this, but obviously all 9 signed the application, the ownership application, and they're all petitioners in this case. It doesn't go beyond the change of zoning, but I do want to make sure that you're aware that your requirements say that not only can any one petition, but you must have the concurrence of all of the property owners and their notarized applications that were submitted in that regard.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Randolph.
Let your wife be more excited. But I just want to commend, this had to be a very good managerial strategic plan to bring all these different property owners to come to a consensus to do something like this. And I just wanted to commend you all. On the contrary, I think it's a good idea. It's unbelievable that you can get that many different property owners to form a consensus that this is where we want to go. So I like that idea.
Thank you for your comments.
I fully support it.
Commissioner Crawford.
Hang on, Jim. I'm familiar with the area, and I don't have a problem with it. I just had a question about the utilities. I assume the city utilities available, if not being currently used in that area?
Well, I do not believe, as the doctor pointed out, that there are any central sewer and water facilities provided by government in that area.
None, okay.
It's obviously not annexed into the town.
Okay.
And Tammany Utilities does not have.
I petitioned the government to have, but it would go.
But so one of the things that I hope, and thank you for the cue, I should have mentioned this earlier though, but I think that as there will be new and consolidated development in that area, we're going to find that whether it's the public sector or the private sector, there's likely to be central utility facilities, which we know provide safety as it relates to firepower. It provides presumably better quality for drinking, but perhaps more importantly, it's a more efficient and environmental friendly discharge of treated effluent. And so let's hope that this is the kind of thing that might allow those services to expand to that area.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments? All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Please come in.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is 2019-1593ZC, existing zonings A2 Suburban District, proposed zonings A4 Single Family Residential District, It's 2.45 acres. Petitioner is Charlotte Ann Corolla. Owner is Charlotte Ann Corolla. Parcel located on the east side of Barry Todd Road, east of Louisiana 434 Lacombe, Ward 7, District 7. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan designates the site to be developed with residential uses of varying site design and density. Staff does not see any compelling reason to recommend approval of the request, considering the site is flanked by existing A2 suburban residential zoning designations to the east and south of the petition property. Staff would like to recommend denial.
Thank you. Is Mr. Corolla in the audience? Please come forward and state your name and address, please.
Good evening.
Hi.
My name is Charlotte Ann Carollo. I reside at 22 Audubon Place in Picayune, Mississippi. And I come before you tonight to ask for the rezoning from A2 to A4. The purpose of this is that with the 2.45 acres that I have, I want to give to my children each a parcel of that through my inheritance. I don't want any opposition with the children to come with one track and how to divide it and please each other who's going to get what. I want them each to have their own parcel of land. And in that respect, they can build their own home, or they can put a rental on it for a little income. But as far as I'm concerned, this property would please me so much to be able to give it to each one separately. Now, this is not going to be a problem that I understand as far as drainage is concerned. We are 18.3 feet above sea level on this property. We are the highest of sea levels on the entire Barry Todd Road. It narrows down to 5 feet toward the end. But for us, on this 2.45 acres, we are 18.3 feet. 18.3 feet. We are the highest on the street. This is according to the LSU flood map. I know that with the A4, I can do this, or we can do this, but with the A2, I cannot, because A2 only allows me to cut it into 2 parcels. But A4 will allow me to cut it to 3 parcels and possibly a 4th one. I have 7 children, so I have to think about this. And at 77 years old, I am not going to waste time. I've got to do something right away with it. I don't know what else to say. I just, if you have questions.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see if anyone else wishes to speak in favor. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor? Come forward and state your name and address, please.
My name is Matthew Ladner. I'm at 22 Audubon Place in Picayune, Mississippi. I'm Ms. Carollo's youngest out of the 7 children, and my parents have been divorced for some time. And when my father passed away in 2003, he had about 7 acres with a house on it. And as much as I love my siblings, to love them all, but we still have some contention between us. And when we were trying to decide if we were going to keep the house or if someone was going to live there or if we were going to sell it, it was just too much contention. And we wound up having to take loans out to buy out shares, and it was just such a headache. And my mom, she's aware of this. So there's a couple of us that actually do get along, and it would be easier if so she gets it subdivided to actually put maybe 2 people on a parcel. But as it sits right now, if something happened to her and she goes to will this to us, we may have more contention. And that just tears our family apart. And you know, the properties next to us are A4. There is some A2 across the way. There's some A2 behind us, but directly across the street on Barry Todd Road is A4. And right on the south of us is A4 as well. So it's not like we're trying to go above any zoning that's already around us. If you go a half mile north on Highway 434, you're on highway commercial. So it's not like we're making a big jump into zoning. And as she said, for the drainage, some people were concerned about drainage, big issue with drainage. As I'm concerned, we're still the highest property. So if we ever did cut it up, say somebody wanted to build a house there, we're not bringing a lot of fill in, if any, to make an impact on the drainage as well. So right now the water is already draining down Barry Todd Road, so we wouldn't really make an impact. That's all I'm saying.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? Seeing no one, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Crawford. Thank you.
Okay, I live in Lacombe, and I'm very familiar with the area. Passed by the property today. I've been by it numerous times, and I don't have a problem with it at all. As everyone stated, there's some A4 in the neighborhood, and right down the street, down Barry Todd, are numerous small lots with houses on them in neighborhoods. So I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Crawford to approve. Commissioner Fitzmars.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmars. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is 2019-1594-ZC, existing zonings A5, two-family residential, and MD1 medical residential district. Proposed zoning A5, two-family residential, 1.74 acres. The petitioner is Lusk Management LLC, Blake Lusk. Owner, Lusk Management LLC, Blake Lusk. Parcel located on the south side of Hickory Street, east of U.S. Highway 190, Service Road, Covington, Ward 4, District 5. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with planned districts with mixed uses at varying densities and conservation areas. Staff does not have any objection to the requested A5 suburban district, considering the site is surrounded by a variety of residential zone districts, and the requested zoning change would correct what is currently a split zone lot. Staff would like to recommend that the request for an A5 two-family residential designation be approved.
Thank you. Yes, sir. State your name and address, please.
My name is Blake Lusk. Address is 792 Rue Bordeaux, Covington, Louisiana, 70433. To put it plainly, I'm looking to fix this zoning issue. I've got part of the lot is A5. The part of the lot that's actually touching the road nearest is A5, and then 175 feet back, it goes MD1. This is clearly a very difficult piece of property to try to even consider building anything on. It's undeveloped, and really I'm just looking to turn it into A5 so I can re-subdivide it and hopefully build some houses and maybe even some duplexes on it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anyone in the audience wish to speak against? Marty Leisure? Is there a Marty Leisure in the audience? All right. I'm going to close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmars.
I'm going to make a motion to approve. I think it'll clean up some of the zoning disparity that you have in this area.
Okay. Commissioner Randolph.
I second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, 2019-1595-ZC, existing zonings A4 single-family residential district, proposed zonings A4 single-family residential district and manufactured housing overlay. It's 0.61 acres. The petitioner's Shannon Roussel. Owner is Cynthia Rankins. Parcel located on the south side of Arthur Road, west of Hill Street, east of Rose Street, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with residential uses that vary in site design and density, including manufactured homes. Staff does not have any objection to the request and would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Is Shannon Roussel in the audience? Yes, come forward and state your name and address, please.
Shannon Roussel, 612 St. Maurice Avenue in New Orleans.
Okay. Tell us what you're trying to do.
Just trying to get a manufactured home put on my aunt's land for my family and grandkids.
This is your aunt's property?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. Any further comment?
No.
Okay. All right. Anyone else wish to speak in favor? Okay, we've got a number. If you want to speak, you need to come up to the podium and.
Just say we're in favor. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anyone wish to speak against?
No.
Seeing no one, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, Mr. Chair, with that in mind, I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Y'all have a good day, and thanks for coming. All right, next item is 2019-1597-ZC. Existing zoning is A4A, single-family residential. Proposed zoning A4A, single-family residential and manufactured housing overlay. It's 1 acre. Petitioners Marietta Barnes, owners William and Ellie Barnes. Parcel located on the south side of James Crosby Road, west of LA 11, Pearl River, Ward 8, District 14. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan designates the site to be developed with residential uses that vary in site design and density, including manufactured homes. Staff does not have any objection to the request and would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Marietta Barnes, are you in the audience? Please come forward. State your name and address, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and the zoning board members. My name is Marietta Barnes. I live on Rickland Drive, Covington. I'm representing my parents, Mr. William and Mrs. Ellie Barnes. They reside at 38438 James Crosby Road in Pearl River. They've resided there in the community over 60 years. At the present address, they've been there more than 30 years. They raised their 4 children. 2 are U.S. Army veterans. 1 works for the Department of Defense. 1 is also a City of Slidell worker. They raised and adopted 2 of their grandchildren and raised until adulthood. They are now having the pleasure in their golden years to raise their first grandson, great-grandson, I must add. I'm asking respectfully the board to please petition your board to recommend changing their zoning to A4 single-family residential and MHO manufactured housing overlay. In their golden years, they're both 78, and they're transitioning from a single-family residence to try to purchase a manufactured home. Again, I respectfully petition the board for this recommendation to rezone. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor? Yes, sir. State your name and address, please.
My name is Julian Carter Sr. Resides at 63543 Bolden Road, Pearl River, Louisiana. I live in the neighborhood, and I've known Mr. Willie all of my life. And I live right around the corner. I had to come through the same procedure to get my home there. And as I sit and counted the mobile homes that's in the community, it's more mobile homes than stick-built homes. It's over 15 mobile homes, single and doubles, and I think it's like 13 stick-built homes. I like her as daughter. They're in their golden years, and I like to see them live out their golden years in a lovely home.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
My name's Deandra Carter at 1707 Marshall Drive, Slidell, Louisiana. My dad is the guy who just spoke, Julian Carter. I was raised in the neighborhood with Mr. and Mrs. Barnes. They know everybody. Everybody knows them. They're the oldest family in our neighborhood. But I just wanted to give y'all a little background about our neighborhood. It is behind the post office in Pearl River, James Crosby Road. Everybody knows everybody. But there are 10 prominent families back there. It's starting from the front all the way to the back because it's one outlet, but it's the Dixon family, the Harris family, Tillison, the Carter Bolden family, which I'm a Carter and a Bolden, the Bounds Barnes family, which half of their family is here, the Jones family, they just built a new home there, Anthony and Holmes family, Mr. Holmes is here representing them, the Powell family, he's also an in-law of the Powell family, and the Altman and Mingo family, that's my cousin, and she wants to eventually have a manufactured home there as well. Now, I plan on developing homes and having manufactured homes there because we do have inherited property in that area. But 90% of those families, I listed off 10 families, 90% of those families have in the past, currently, or want to in the future have a manufactured home in that area. And so we're just here trying to speak up for those people because eventually they will pass down their homes to their children, who will pass down their homes to their children's children's, which has always been like that in our neighborhood. So we're just trying to keep it beautiful. We're trying to develop it in a better way, trying to keep it beautiful, trying to make sure everything is going in the right direction back in that neighborhood.
All right, thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor? Yes, sir. State your name and address, please.
Yes, sir. Good evening. My name is Joseph Holmes. I live at 38362 James Crosby Road, and I moved to Pearl River 31 years ago. And these are some good people. They welcome me here. I raised my family in a trailer. So I just on his behalf.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. State your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Altman, and my address is 58089 Jefferson Avenue in Slidell. And for the past 5 years, I've been paying property taxes for the land that my grandmother owns on James Crosby Road, and I intend to move there within the next 2 years. And I did want to support his having a mobile home, and I'll be petitioning soon as well to have mine. So with that being said, I just wanted to show my support.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. My name is Juanita Barnes. I am William and Ellie's oldest daughter. And I want y'all to approve it. I'm asking you to approve it because, like I say, they're in their age. My sister and I are going to be the one to have to take care of them. Where they're living now, it's not convenient for me to stay there. So with the mobile home, they want to get at least 3 bedrooms. That way I could stay there. And I'm sorry I didn't give you my address. My address is 117 Maryland Street in Picayune, Mississippi. And so again, if they get the mobile home, then I will be able to stay there when needed, and then I'll have a bedroom.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? Seeing none, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Mr. Chair, real briefly, a real historical synopsis. I'm very familiar with the area. I know the family. My dad drove a bus in that area for 33 years, cut hair, I shined shoes. So I know the entire area, the entire family from the start of the Graves all the way back to the Powells and the Whiteouts and everybody else in between. So I motion to approve. Make the motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Crawford.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Crawford. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I just want to congratulate Mr. and Mrs. Barnes. You were very well respected. Obviously, you've raised some wonderful kids, and the community loves you too. So I'm absolutely for this, and congratulations.
Thank you. All right, any further discussion? Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is plan review cases. 2019-1627-PR, use office warehouse, corridor, Tammany Trace. Zoning is I-1 Industrial District. Use size is 5706 square feet. Petitioner Jeffrey Shane, owner of Rainbow Drive LLC, John A. and Joy M. Foxworth, parcel located at the end of Rainbow Drive, south of Louisiana 36, Covington, Ward 2, District 3. Staff?
The petition property was rezoned from A3 Suburban District to I1 Industrial District in January of 2019. The petitioner is proposing to utilize the existing almost 5,000 square foot warehouse located on the site for specialty food processing, which is a permitted use under the current I1 Industrial designation. You'll note that you have two separate reports for this, one of which was written September 30th and includes several variances that the applicant was asking for. We've since worked with Mr. Shane to kind of correct those variances and come into compliance to the best of his ability. So for our recommendations, one, per section 130-1815, the planting area abutting the Tammany Trace shall be a minimum of 25 feet. The existing building is currently located between 1 foot and 5 feet 5 inches from the south property line. So the applicant is requesting to reduce the required 25-foot setback to 1 foot where the building encroaches the required buffer. Staff feels that this condition is existing to the site and therefore necessary for the occupation of the building, and recommends that the variance be granted where the building is currently located, while the required setbacks and landscaping be adhered to otherwise. Two is per section 130-1976. The first 25 feet from the front lot line shall be the landscape street planting area. Again, the existing building is 20 feet 4 inches from the front property line, so the applicant is requesting a variance to the street planting area of 4 feet 8 inches. Staff does not have any objection to the request because it's an existing condition. Three, a variance is being requested to maintain a portion of the existing pavement along the front of the building and to use the existing door for loading and unloading. Staff is in favor of this request as the new driveway giving access to the rear of the property and the existing driveway are separated by a landscaped area to ensure that all ingress to the site will be done through the new driveway. A one-way access to the right will allow for delivery trucks to enter the site, and a new driveway for all the truck manufacturing to take place entirely on the property. The applicant has stated that there will be no large trucks utilized in the proposed operation. Four is just that per section 130 Tammany Trace regulations, the facade of buildings having frontage on the trace maintain a facade made of stucco, brick, or wood. The subject building currently has a tin facade, so staff recommends approval of this request as, again, it's an existing condition. Staff is not opposed to all the requested variances as they are the minimum required for commercial occupation of the site.
Thank you, Mr. Shane.
Yes, Mr. Chair and Honorable Commission, Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. I have the pleasure of representing Rainbow Drive LLC, Mr. Norman Foxworth, who's sitting with me on the front row this evening. You may remember that we were with you I guess 8 or 10 months ago now, seeking the rezoning of this tract from residential to I-1. The purpose, as stated at that time, was that Mr. Foxworth, who's the owner of Dependable Glass, longtime business in Covington, no longer had a need to use the facility for his business, and in fact intended to market and try to sell the building. I'm happy to say that the property is under contract, a local business that will be doing food processing, all indoor at that location, and in determining what would be needed for the new owner to procure an occupancy permit and an occupational license, it was brought to our attention that even though the property had been rezoned, there were certain deficiencies because of the nature of the structure, how it was built, where it was built, not meeting all the setbacks, etc. With that in mind, staff, we filed, of course, for this plan Carter review because the property abuts the Tammany Trace. It's on the south. Staff gave a very comprehensive staff report, which you have, the initial report, listing 11 items. I appreciate staff's hard work and sitting down with us, explaining to us the regulations. I think once we had an understanding, we then could make some changes and modifications to meet and actually eliminate some of the deficiencies that were noted in the first staff report. And I'm very proud to say that of the 6 items listed tonight, really only 4 of which are variance items. Staff either supports or makes it clear to you that they have no objection. So with those things in mind, we request that you grant approval of this plan review this evening, and in particular, those variance items, items 1 through 4, as noted. If any of you have any questions or comments, I would be glad to address them.
Thank you, Mr. Jane. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve. Commissioner Fitzmars.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmars. Any further discussion? Please, Commissioner Willie.
Yes, do we have to mention the variances in that motion?
Pardon?
Variances are included.
Just verbally stated, if you would just want to add on to your motion, Mr. Seeger, just say approval with the variances, if that's what you would like to say.
Or as written.
As written.
Yeah, okay. All right. So that's, the motion is with the variances, and the second is with the variances, right? Any further discussion? Please vote.
Mr. Willie?
Motion carries. Thank you.